This story over here, when we talk about it, it is through the perspective of the little character called Little Franz. If someone tries to control your linguistic chauvinism, if you know your language, you can come out of the prison anytime. In great dread of, that is fearful in anticipation of something counted on, rely on someone to support. Hello everyone, I'm Babita Tamaya, your prep school English teacher. As funny as it may sound, your first lesson from the textbook Flamingo is named as The Last Lesson. It is a short story of the different part of the world. So let's see what's the story The Last Lesson is all about. So what are we going to study today? I'll be discussing about the author, Alphonse Daudet, the background of the story, the synopsis, and the new words and phrases. Alphonse Daudet is a French novelist and a short story writer. He started his career as a school teacher in south of France, and later, because of some horrific encounter with the students, he changed his profession to writing. So now let's see the background. There are a couple of background information that you really need to know. The first thing is about Franco-Prussian War. Let me tell you, France and Prussia is nothing but the collection of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. These three together were called Prussia. Prussia and France, for a very long period of time, had a disconflict of the custody or to secure places like Alsace and Lorraine. And finally, in the war that happened in 1970, when was the war happened? It happened in 1970, and they won the war against France, led by Bismarck. So who was the one? That was Bismarck. In his leadership, they won the war against France. So Alsace and Lorraine, the districts of France, goes to the custody of Prussia. This story over here, when we talk about it, it is through the perspective of the little character called Little Franz. In the morning setup, Franz wakes up and he realizes that he was late for the school and I have to run back. And M. Hamill, another character in the story, he had asked him to study the participles. He was about to ask question about the participles. On the other hand, Franz did not have any clue. M. Hamill is a French teacher and Franz did not know what participles are and what question M. Hamill is going to ask. He wakes up and gets ready, but the view outside was so soothing that he wanted to throw his bag away and enjoy the nature's beauty. But he had to resist and he had to run back to the school. As he was too late, he had to rush back. On the way to school, he saw the bulletin board. Bulletin board is nothing but the notice board. And this notice board had been the back barrier as they give all the bad messages or the news for a very long period of time. From this bulletin board, they got to know that they lost the war against Prussia and lots of things are going to change. What exactly was the matter was, on his way to school, he had also seen the Persian army drilling over the open field in the back of the sawmill. What was exactly happening? What was there exactly in the notice board? The little Franz did not have time to check the notice board. He had to rush back because he was already late to the school. But he ignored and about to run, and there he notices the blacksmith and the apprentice looking at the notice board and told Franz, that is the little Franz, what did they say in the sense, don't go so fast, bub, you will get to school in plenty of time. So the two people, that is the blacksmith and the apprentice, they say to little Franz saying that you have too much of time, don't run, don't rush to your school. But here little Franz does not take this into consideration because he thought that these two were making fun of him because he was already late to the school and he had to run back to school. But were they really making fun of him? Was it with intention? So let's see now. On his way to school, when he reached the school, there was something unusual about the whole school. Every day when he reaches the school, he could hear the banging on the desk, the teacher banging the ruler on the desk, lots of people moving the desk and plenty of children repeating after the teacher. But on that particular day, he could not hear anything. It was complete silence. Later, slowly, he slides into the class without anyone noticing. The place was so quiet as though it was Sunday morning. What happens in Sunday morning? During Sundays, you can see the complete place or the area will be so very quiet. You will never hear the vehicle sound or the children screaming, nothing, because Sunday everyone want to rest. So it was like a Sunday morning. Then he tries to make his way through the benches and enter the classroom, but M. Hamill notices him. M. Hamill, without getting angry, he says to go and take your place quickly. We are going to start without you. He felt very strange that M. Hamill was never kind to anyone. Franz was confused, but what confused him later was the fact that the villagers had occupied the last bench of the row. So he'll be just thinking, why are these people sitting here? They were all attending the French classes today. He could see the former postmaster, he could see the former mayor and several others. All these were attending the French class on that particular day. So here he will be having lots of questions. Franz will be having lot of questions in his mind. Firstly, he did not have enough time to check the notice board, and the blacksmith and apprentice were making fun of him. And why was Mr. Hamill so kind today? All these questions were going on his mind, as well as the villagers were seated in the last bench. He's totally confused now. Then at last, his teacher, M. Hamill, reveals all the story. He says, "Children, today is the last lesson I will take you. The order has come from Berlin saying that in all schools of Alsace and Lorraine, German has to be taught but not French." So what was the order from the Berlin? They say that German should be taught in all schools but not French. So from tomorrow, you will have your new German teacher, and that is the reason this is the last class on French I'm going to give you today. So that answers all his question what he had in his mind. But he had one more question. Why the villagers were seated in the last bench? Why they were attending the French class on that particular day? Because the villagers regret that they did not go to school much and they did not learn their own language. Language is very much a part for one's identity. It is nothing but linguistic chauvinism. It's a belief that one's own language is better than any other language. They were trying to gain control over them. When Franz realizes that this was his last class and this was the last opportunity that I have to learn French. He did not learn anything till now. But just like the villagers, even he also regret that he paid no attention. Mr. Hamill asked the students to recite all the poem and recite the participle. Then he straight away comes to little Franz and asks him question about the participle or to recite the participle. What does little Franz does? He get up with the book and he did not know what to do because he did not pay any attention towards the French class. He did not like the language. He get up with the book and he'll be totally confused. He did not know what to do. He wanted to read. He was anxious to read, but he did not know to read. Does M. Hamill scolds at him at this particular point? He says, I will not scold you, little Franz. There is no point in scolding you because it is the problem of the generation with Alsane and Lorraine. We have neglected the language. We have taken it for granted. M. Hamill, with 40 years of experience, was not bothered very much to teach the kids each and every word. Instead of that, whenever he wanted leave or holidays, he gave the holidays to the students as well. He was going for fishing and gardening. He wasted all his time. Instead of wasting his time in this, he could have taught the children to develop their language skills. But he did not do so. He blames himself for this. Not only him, he blames the parents as well, because the parents neglected when they did not learn their own language. Then M. Hamill says, when we ourselves don't have unity and you yourself don't have love about your country or your native tongue, what will the Germans do it? Obviously, they have the right to question what sort of a Frenchman you are. When we don't respect our own language, why will the Germans respect it? So here we all neglected and we all equally stand responsible for this. The children also blamed, the teacher also blamed, and the parents also blamed. And at last they questioned, that is the German questioned the Frenchman. You just pretended to be a Frenchman. You did not know to read and write your own language. M. Hamill feels very sad and pity for this. He regrets himself that he couldn't do anything. He had a chance to do, but he did not do. He blamed the parents and he blamed himself as well. Later on, he goes on to define his last lesson to use it to the fullest potential. He started explaining how the French is one of the most beautiful and logistic languages that exists. He also says that if one knows his own language, he always has a key to come out of the prison. I mean to say that if someone tries to control your linguistic chauvinism, if you know your language, you can come out of the prison anytime. And here, M. Hamill teaches all the grammar, the text, prose, poetry on that particular day. Then there is a thought that comes in the head of little Franz. It's sure that the Germans are going to impose their language on us and surely they will make us learn. But what about the birds and animals? Will they be able to make the birds and the animals sing in German? You cannot impose your rules and regulations. You cannot control anything beyond your limit. So, at last, when all the students were seated inside the classroom, M. Hamill is fixing his gaze on the classroom and the garden as if he was trying to capture all the moments in his head, because he was supposed to leave France along with his sister. He can no more teach French language. Here, his sister was packing all his bags in the first floor. But at the end, when the bell struck 12 at the church, it was time for him to move. He had lot of things to say, but all that what he did was, he went near the board and wrote, "My friends, Viva la France." It means to say that long live France. He said, "Long live France," and went away from the class. Now, let's see the new words or the phrases from your textbook. I want you to go through with these words thoroughly from your textbook. The first one is in great dread of, that is fearful in anticipation of something counted on, rely on someone to support. It means to say that dread, it means to say that fearful. Fearful is nothing but you imagine something and you feel or you get feared of it. That's the imagination. Thumbed at the edges. Edges, it means to say that when you take the two very old book, you can see the edges, the four corners will be folded or it will be crumbled. Worn or solid edges. Solid, it means a dirty color or a dirty water, something like that, caused by frequent handling. So when you put your book inside the bag, what happens? You can see the corners is crumbled or it is folded. In unison, it is nothing but togetherness. You could have seen in the classroom, all the children sit together and recite the poem or recite the tables at a same time. That is known as unison. A great bustle, excited or a noisy. That is, it's an activity or a noisy activity. There might be some activity in the town or the city or the noisy of the vehicles. That is known as bustle. Reapproach ourselves with, to express disapproval, criticism or disappointment. So reapproach, it means to say that disappointment or disapproval. For example, your mother may say, we are going to travel tomorrow to some place. So you yourself disapprove it, saying that, no, I'm not going to come. That is reapproach. Thinking that it was a very interesting story. So let me meet you again in the next session with the story, The Lost Spring. Until then, keep learning. Thank you.